during this month of July, it happens by chance because of the way the liturgical calendar and the cycle of readings is set up. But we've been hearing from first the book of Genesis, roughly the first 2 weeks of July, which is the first book of the Bible, the first book of the Old Testament. And now we begin hearing from Exodus, the second book. Now, in each of these instances, we don't get the full of either, because it just wouldn't be enough time in each of the daily Mass readings. So we kind of, if you will, hit on some of the highlights, the major events. So from the 1st of July up until the end of last week, from Genesis, we heard of the call of Abraham, the promise that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky. And God made a promise to Abraham and to Sarah that despite their old age, they would have a son. And we heard of Isaac being born. And then we heard that, if you will, bizarre incident where Abraham is put to the test when he is asked even to sacrifice Isaac. And then we moved along to Isaac's blessing of Jacob. And then we had that fascinating story last week of the sons of Jacob, and in particular, how it all related to Joseph, against whom first there was resentment. And by his brothers, he was sold into slavery, and he ends up taking a position of significant power and influence with the Pharaoh, with the leader of Egypt. So much so that he is able to help the people of Israel during a time of famine. And the story ends with that beautiful reconciliation. Joseph forgives his brothers for what they have done to him. Now, our daily Mass cycle of readings from Genesis has come to its conclusion. So now we begin this week from that second book, the book of Exodus. And we just heard in today's reading that there is a new king, and that this new king is unaware of Joseph, the position of influence he had, the fact that he was a Jew. And now we hear about the resentment that has built up against the Jews living in Egypt because they have grown numerous and powerful, and various attempts to undermine them and to diminish their influence have been unsuccessful. So, per order of the king, they are first subjected to forms of oppression and harsh labor. And when that doesn't keep them down, a new command is issued, ordering that the boys be basically drowned, right? We were told that they were to be thrown into the river. Now, each day this week coming up, we will hear a little something of this book's major events. We'll hear of tomorrow of Moses being spared at birth by Pharaoh's daughter, and then unknowingly being returned to his own mother to be reared. And God will then appear, the count we all learned as children, to Moses in the burning bush and reveal himself, I am who am. And God will call Abraham to become a leader and to take his people out of Egypt. And prior to the Exodus, the moving out, we know that Moses tries to deal with Pharaoh. If you will, he tries to negotiate. And finally comes the event of Passover, in which safe passage through the Red Sea is made. Now, what is a common theme, and that weaves these two important books together, is you have in each a central figure. You have an important leader, Abraham in the book of Genesis and Moses in the book of Exodus. And each of them has the trust, the confidence, and the support of God, and they use that to lead their people. And the central message that they tell their people is one that we are called to take to heart and to put into our own daily lives. And it is this: God keeps his promises.